Namaste betiya, हमेशा खुश रहो betiya. A very good morning to you all. Myself, JVN Dr. Ravi Jain, Assistant Professor, Department of Practice of Medicine and Faculty of Homeopathic Science at Jyoti Vidyapith Women's University, Jaipur. In this series of lectures, we have been discussing about the thyroid disorders. And in the last lecture, we have discussed about the normal anatomy and the normal functioning of the thyroid gland. And also, we have discussed about hypothyroidism. So in today's lecture, we are going to continue with the hypothyroidism from the topic that we have left in the last lecture. We were discussing about autoimmune thyroiditis in the hypothyroidism in the last lecture. And today we are going to continue from that autoimmune hypothyroidism. So in the autoimmune hypothyroidism, we have discussed that it is associated with a goiter that is Hashimoto's or goitrous thyroiditis. So what is happening in autoimmune hypothyroidism? Actually, antibodies. Autoimmune disease is a disease in which the antibodies are prepared against our own cells. So the antibodies are producing against the own healthy tissue of the thyroid gland, and it is destroying the thyroid gland, leading to the condition of hypothyroidism. So autoimmune hypothyroidism is associated with a goitrous condition, that is Hashimoto or goitrous thyroiditis. There can be a minimal residual thyroid tissue that is seen with the atrophic hypothyroidism. Subclinical hypothyroidism can be seen. Subclinical hypothyroidism means when there is hypothyroidism, but the symptoms these are not visible very easily. And there can be a condition of clinical hypothyroidism or overt hypothyroidism when the symptoms are very clear, indicative of a condition of hypothyroidism. Now, what is the prevalence? Prevalence of autoimmune hypothyroidism. In the last lecture, we have discussed about the congenital hypothyroidism, and now today we are discussing about the autoimmune hypothyroidism. So the incidence rate of the autoimmune hypothyroidism, it is up to 4 people or 4 women per 1,000 women and 1 man per 1,000 men. So the incidence rate of hypothyroidism, autoimmune hypothyroidism, it is more common in women as compared to men with a ratio of 4:1. So men is to women ratio is 4:1, and the pathogenesis, it is markedly lymphocytic infiltration, because as I have told you, this is an autoimmune disease. So there will be the body's own cells, own immune system is destroying the healthy tissue of the body. So there is marked lymphocytic infiltration of the thyroid gland. So the thyroid gland is infiltrated by the lymphocytes, and there is atrophy of the thyroid follicles. So these lymphocytes that are infiltrating the thyroid gland are ultimately destroying the thyroid follicles, leading to the atrophy, and there is absence of colloid and mild to moderate fibrosis. So in the pathogenesis, there is marked lymphocytic infiltration of the thyroid with atrophy of the thyroid follicles. There is absence of colloid and mild to moderate fibrosis that could be seen. So we have atrophy in lymphocytic infiltration. There is atrophy of the thyroid follicles, absence of colloid matter because of the thyroid follicle destruction. The colloid matter is absent, and there can be leading to the mild to moderate fibrosis. Now, what are the clinical features of autoimmune thyroiditis? Because this is the most common or the most important type of hypothyroidism that we are going to discuss, autoimmune hypothyroidism. So the clinical features are very important for us. So the onset of autoimmune hypothyroidism, it is usually insidious, that is slow onset is there, and goiter may not be large, but it is usually irregular and firm in consistency. So what happens in autoimmune hypothyroidism? The onset is slow with the slow development of the symptoms, and the goiter is usually not large, but it is usually irregular and it is firm in consistency. So the goiter, it is not large, but irregular in shape and firm in consistency. There is skin is dry. So we have already discussed the clinical features, the symptoms and signs of hypothyroidism condition in the last lecture. So the features of hypothyroidism will be present, like dry skin. There will be decreased sweating, thinning of the epidermis, hyperkeratosis of the stratum corneum. All these are the signs of hypothyroidism that we are going to see. There will be increased dermal glycosaminoglycans. So there will be a deposition, increased dermal glycosaminoglycans that are responsible for the edema that can trap water and giving rise to the skin thickening without pitting. So that is known as myxedema. Myxedema is because of the accumulation or the deposition of the dermal glycosaminoglycans. that absorb water and is responsible for the swelling. This swelling is without pitting, and this condition is known as the mixed edema. The patient will present with the edematous eyelids. There will be puffy face. We have studied about the clinical features in the last lecture, in which we have studied there will be swelling on the face, hands, and feet. So there will be puffiness of the face, and edematous eyelids will be there with non-pitting pretibial edema. So the edema in case of hypothyroidism is non-pitting type. So because of the glycosaminoglycans that are absorbing water and responsible for mixed edema or the swelling. The pallor is often with a yellow tinge. So in the patient, you are going to observe the pallor, and it is seen with a yellow tinge to the skin due to the carotene accumulation. So there is accumulation of the carotene, there is yellowish tinge in the eyes, and you can see the pallor with a yellow tinge on the skin, and it is due to the carotene accumulation in the skin. The nail growth in the individual is retarded. So we are getting retarded nail growth, and the hair is dry, brittle, and difficult to manage, because we have studied in the clinical features there are alopecia that you are going to see in case of hypothyroidism. So there will be nail growth that is retarded, with the hair becoming dry, brittle, and difficult to manage, and the hair is falling very easily. There is thinning of the outer third of the eyebrows. So outer third of the eyebrows are thinning out. All right. The patient will complain of constipation, and there will be weight gain. Weight gain is associated without an increase in the diet. So the patient is not eating properly, still the patient is complaining of the weight gain. So there is nail growth that is retarded, with hair becoming dry, brittle, and difficult to manage. Thinning of the outer 1/3 of the eyebrows. With constipation, there is weight gain despite poor appetite. Loss of libido, that is decreased in both the sexes, that is decreased sexual drive in both the individuals. In the females, there will be menorrhagia at the earlier phase, and then it will be associated with oligo or amenorrhea. The fertility is reduced in both the individuals, and there is incidence of miscarriage that is increased. The patient will have pallor, and it is often with a yellow tinge in the skin due to the accumulation of carotene, and there will be nail growth that is retarded. So there will also be various heart condition that will be seen with the hypothyroidism. There will be myocardial contractility. So myocardial contractility is reduced, and the pulse rate is also reduced, leading to the reduced stroke volume, and bradycardia. So we have discussed in the clinical features that patient will be having bradycardia. So bradycardia will be because of the decreased myocardial contractility. The pulse rate is reduced, and it is leading to the reduced stroke volume and bradycardia. There is increased peripheral resistance with the diastolic hypertension. So in the individual, you will be getting increased peripheral resistance with diastolic hypertension, and the blood flow is diverted from the skin. So the blood flow is going away from the skin. Therefore, you will be getting hypothermia or the cold extremities. All right. So whenever you are touching the skin of the patients of hypothyroidism, you will feel coldness. The skin is cold and dry, and the perspiration is less. The fluid may accumulate in various serous cavities and in the middle of ear. So you can find in case of hypothermia, the fluid accumulation in various serous cavities and the middle ear, giving rise to conductive deafness. So there will be conductive deafness that you are going to see. In the lab investigations, we can check for the TSH level and T4 levels. There will be demonstration of the TPO, that is thyroid peroxidase antibodies, because this is an autoimmune disease. So antibodies will be found in the blood circulation, and the antibodies are known as thyroid peroxidase antibodies. That is present in 90% of the cases. So the TSH levels will be raised. T4 levels can be checked for. You can demonstrate the TPO antibodies, that is thyroid peroxidase antibodies, that is present in around 90% of the cases. The FNA biopsy can be done, that is fine needle aspiration biopsy can be done and it can confirm the presence of autoimmune thyroiditis. Ultrasound of the thyroid gland can be done, and so in the lab investigation, we can check for the TSH and the T4 levels. We can do the demonstration of the TPO antibodies, that is thyroid peroxidase antibodies, that is present in greater than 90% of the cases. Fine needle aspiration biopsy can be done to confirm the presence of autoimmune thyroiditis. Ultrasound can be performed of the thyroid gland. In the differential diagnosis, we have to check for asymmetrical goiter in Hashimoto thyroiditis. It may be confused with multinodular goiter or thyroid carcinoma. So we have to keep into mind whether it is an asymmetrical goiter in the Hashimoto thyroiditis or it is a multinodular goiter or a thyroid carcinoma. So differential diagnosis has to be done in such cases. Now, what are the other causes of hypothyroidism? Other causes of hypothyroidism includes iatrogenic hypothyroidism. Iatrogenic is the medicine or the hospital associated. So iatrogenic hypothyroidism in the first 3 or 4 months after radioiodine treatment. If a person has been taking treatment with the radioiodine and transient hypothyroidism may occur. So I have told you already that transient hypothyroidism means transient, that is occurring for a small period of time, and it may occur due to the reversible radiation damage. And because of the TSH levels are suppressed by hypothyroidism, unbound T4 levels are a better measure of thyroid function. So iatrogenic hypothyroidism, that is in the first 3 to 4 months after radioiodine treatment, transient hypothyroidism may be occur, and that can be reversible due to the reversible radiation damage of the thyroid gland. And because of the TSH levels are suppressed by hypothyroidism, unbound T4 levels are a better measure of thyroid function. So sometimes in case of iatrogenic hypothyroidism, the TSH level is suppressed. Therefore, unbound T4 level can be checked for the diagnosis of iatrogenic hypothyroidism. The second variety of the second cause, important cause for hypothyroidism is the iodine deficiency. This was very common in India. And iodine deficiency, when the person is not taking iodized salt, this is not usually seen now because of the very easy availability of the iodized salt. But iodine deficiency is responsible for endemic goiter and cretinism. So this was very common in India, endemic goiter and cretinism. Next is the cause of hypothyroidism includes secondary hypothyroidism. Secondary hypothyroidism, when the hypothyroidism is due to some other organ involvement, some other part of the body involvement, like another anterior pituitary hormone deficiencies. So there are certain pituitary hormone deficiencies that are responsible for development of the hypothyroidism. Here TSH levels may be low, normal, or slightly increased. So in case of secondary hypothyroidism, the TSH level can be low, it can be normal, or it can be slightly increased. The diagnosis of the secondary hypothyroidism is confirmed by detecting an unbound T4 level. So unbound T4 level is done in all the cases to determine the cause for hypothyroidism. And the treatment is to maintain T4 levels in the upper half of the reference range. So the treatment of the hypothyroidism or secondary hypothyroidism is to maintain the T4 in the upper range of the reference range. Now, how to check? What are the different evaluation or the lab evaluation that could be done in case of hypothyroidism? So till now we have discussed different type of hypothyroidism. Now we are checking for the general lab evaluation in every case of hypothyroidism. So if a case of hypothyroidism is coming to us, then what are the various lab evaluation that could be done? We can measure the thyroid hormones, that is TSH assays can be done. The test can be determined the etiology of thyroid dysfunction. We can perform various type of tests that will determine the etiology of the thyroid function, and circulating antibodies against TPO and the thyroglobulin can be checked for. A radioiodine uptake and thyroid scanning can be done. So we can do the radioiodine uptake and thyroid scanning with the radioisotopes iodine 123, iodine 125, and iodine 131, and technetium M99. So we can measure the thyroid hormones by TSH assays. We can determine the etiology of the thyroid dysfunction by circulating antibodies, TPO and thyroglobulin. We can also check for the radioiodine uptake of the thyroid scanning. That includes radioisotopes of iodine, that is iodine 123, iodine 125, and iodine 131 with technetium 99. And we can also go for thyroid ultrasound. So ultrasonography of the thyroid gland can be done. Now, how to manage a case of hypothyroidism? Whenever a case of hypothyroidism is coming to us, how can we manage such case? So management of hypothyroidism is not very difficult, because we have seen a lot of signs and symptoms that are developing because of the hypothyroid state. So it has to be managed very early stage in order to prevent the complication. So daily replacement of the dose of levothyroxine, it is usually 1.6 microgram per kg of body weight is given. So we have to do the daily replacement of the thyroxine levothyroxine has to be given. So a tablet of levothyroxine early morning empty stomach is given in such individuals, and special consideration is done in the woman with a history of high risk of hypothyroidism. Should ensure that they are euthyroid prior to the conception. So a very important, because thyroid is responsible for the cell maturation, cell differentiation. Therefore, it is very essential that if a lady is trying to conceive, then she should keep into mind that if she is hypothyroid previously, then after the treatment, she should come to the euthyroid state before conception in order to prevent the various congenital abnormalities in the newborn individual. So she should ensure that they are euthyroid prior to conception and during early pregnancy, because maternal hypothyroidism may adversely affect the fetal neural tube development and it cause preterm delivery. The presence of thyroid autoantibodies alone in euthyroid patient is associated with miscarriage and preterm delivery. So if there are thyroid antibodies that are present in a euthyroid patient, then it is associated with miscarriage and preterm delivery. So this was all about hypothyroidism. In the next lecture, we will be discussing about the hyperthyroidism. So I believe you have understood this session properly. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope the session is clear to you. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box and I'll try to resolve it. So this was all for today. We will be meeting in the next lecture with hyperthyroidism. So thank you very much. Have a good day.